Today, we will be hearing from Lorelei Salas, the Commissioner at the New York City Department of Consumer and Worker Protection. We will be discussing the importance of financial planning, ways to effectively build an emergency financial plan, and how to protect yourself and your loved ones from scams and fraud. Commissioner?
Hi, thank you so much, Nora, for the introduction, and thank you to the New York Immigration Coalition for partnering with us, with my office, to bring to your members very important information about how they can protect themselves, how can they take advantage of some of the programs and services available to New Yorkers during this very difficult times that we're facing right now. I want to say a couple of things about the agency for those of you who don't know what we do, and then really be able to have the time to answer your questions. As the name says, the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection, we enforce the laws in New York City that protect workers and consumers. And those laws are very broad in coverage. New York City has some of the most progressive legislation in the books for workers and consumers, whatever industry they work in, and regardless of immigration status, there are so many protections. And so important that our New Yorkers know that if they contact us, all of the programs and services we have at the agency are available to all New Yorkers. So regardless of immigration status, you can feel safe in calling us because no one on our end is going to ask you for your status. We do not even have a place in our database to record that information because it's not necessary for our work, it's not relevant, and we do not want to have it because what is the point in having it, right? So that is how safe it is to reach out to us. We often also encourage people when they feel that they could be victims of retaliation, they can also just call us anonymously. We don't have to take any action until people feel comfortable that they understand the process that we will engage in and that they feel comfortable with us taking action. So you can call us only if you just have questions and you want to know what your rights are and then make a decision. Please do reach out to us. So we protect consumers, we protect workers, and we have an Office of Financial Empowerment. And I know today we're going to focus a lot on the financial resources available to New Yorkers. So enforcing laws like paid safe and sick leave law, which is a life-saving benefit these days, right? Protecting consumers from price gouging when they needed to buy the products that are so essential to staying safe and healthy and preventing COVID-19. We had to act quickly on that. And then our financial empowerment centers, and we'll be talking about today, these are services that have been in place for over a decade. But it's during these times of crisis when we realize how essential they are and how much they can really help New Yorkers as they try to navigate these difficulties. All of the services that we're going to be talking about available to all New Yorkers. We have materials in as many as 14 languages. We even have some oral translations of some of our key worker protection laws that are translated into 5 different indigenous languages. So it's all about access, and we are really, really glad to be here today.
Thank you for joining us today, Commissioner. So let's start at the beginning. What are financial empowerment centers?
Today, we have over 33 centers across the 5 boroughs. Now, prior to the pandemic, I would have said all of these centers, you can walk in your neighborhood, the neighborhoods where we have the most unbanked and underbanked individuals, you will find a financial empowerment center there. Why? Because we partner with service providers, with CBOs, with people who are already in those communities, and we provide the funding to hire the counselors so that you as a New Yorker do not have to travel very far to be able to get assistance from someone, right? They are based out of these community-based organizations or legal services providers. And the program is available at no cost to New Yorkers. I sometimes avoid saying it's free because sometimes people feel like when a service is free, that maybe it's not as good as one that you pay for, but that is not true, right? It is free to you, but it really has a cost because it's getting paid with our taxes. So these counselors are trained professionals who, even though they're working at different sites, they are all
Mhm.
receiving the same training. They receive the same updates, and the quality control is being handled by my office centrally.
Mhm.
So it really is a network of counselors who, during the pandemic, had to really just quickly move their services to be virtual, right? So we
Mhm.
did phone counseling and video counseling, but we're opening up slowly. So some of the centers are beginning to open up. So you call 311 or you visit nyc.gov/talk money and you can get an appointment. Again, no immigration or income restrictions. You just have to be 18, at least 18 years of age, so that you can actually give consent so we can look into
Mhm.
your finances. That really is the only requirement. And I myself used a financial empowerment counselor about maybe 8 years ago, way before this job, but they were based at one of our community-based organizations where I used to work.
Mhm.
And I have to say, it's an amazing resource to have someone you can trust, who is going to keep everything confidential, who's never going to have a conflict of interest, because again,
Mhm.
their full-time job is to work with you, and it's
Mhm.
accessible. So I recommend it to everyone.
Thank you. So, if my income has been impacted by COVID-19, how can a financial counselor help me establish an effective financial plan to offset that loss?
Typical things that counselors will do if you make an appointment with them is that they will help you understand your financial situation, right? What is the
Mhm.
income you're getting? What are the bills that you're getting? What is your debt? And that
Mhm.
is something, sometimes it's a process that can be overwhelming and frustrating, but
Yeah.
that's what they do all the time, right? They help you come up with a budget. Then they help you to develop a strategy to manage your debt, including
Mhm.
student loan debt. And as you know, the student loan debt crisis is really the one thing that everyone is thinking about right now. And then another key thing that is part of the program is that the counselors can help you improve your credit score or establish credit if you have none. In order to do almost anything here in the city, like whether it is renting
Mhm.
an apartment or trying to, get a loan to buy a car or a house, right? You need a good credit score. And
Mhm.
many of our clients coming to us saying, my credit score is really low. I don't qualify for anything. I can't get a credit card
Yeah.
with low interest rates. And the counselors take you through the steps that you have to do in order to improve those credit scores. So those are the core things that they always do.
Okay. So, when should someone start seeking financial counseling? Like,
So, a couple of things I just want to add. The financial crisis obviously affected everyone, not just people who are employed by another company, but also the companies themselves. And so typically the counselors will get on the phone with your creditors and try to negotiate your debt down. Because oftentimes the companies rather have some money, right, than see a long term
mm,
payment plan,
yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
so during this period, we saw that many counselors had successfully reduced their clients' debt by like 70, 80%, huge amounts. Why?
Mhm.
Because those companies also needed money, right? So that is one thing that people came to us during this time of difficulties. We also have draft letters that we put together that in New York City, right? If you have a debt collections agency that is calling you to get you to pay down some debt,
Mhm.
there are some rules that we enforce. You can use those rules to sort of maybe at least during the state of emergency to get them to stop contacting you, right? So
Mhm.
we put this together so consumers have something easy that they can do, and the counselors can help them with that. Basically, they'll communicate in writing with the debt collection agency and say, during this state of emergency, I want you to stop seeking to collect debt. And then if they don't do that, we can issue fines as an agency that regulates those collection agencies. So, and the other
Mhm.
very important thing, we see that a lot of people ended up falling into like some kind of fraudulent schemes, right? There
Mhm.
were many different benefits that were available through the federal government and the state government, right? Like unemployment insurance,
Mhm.
like the student loan debt relief, the economic stimulus payment. Those are things that our counselors are trained to help you with. so that you don't have to go to a random website to find out where can I get some help, because sometimes you can fall into a trap, right? So we
Mhm.
encourage people to come to our financial counselors because they can help you. And then to address the question that you said, like, when should I seek out financial counseling, right? Really anytime. But let's say you just graduated from school and you're about to look for a job. That's the time when you should be seeking a counselor, right? If
Mhm.
the income in your household changes, if your employment changes, if you're having trouble paying your student loan debt, we spend a lot of time training our counselors in all the existing debt relief programs from the federal government,
Mhm.
so that they could help guide you to make sure that you are in the right repayment program. But it's sometimes complicated to understand, am I meeting all the different guidelines and the threshold to be able to qualify? Our
Mhm.
counselors are trained for that. And also, if you're thinking about making a large purchase, like if you want to save to buy a car or a house, they can help you avoid predatory products, and they can help you zero in and look at the safe, affordable banking products that are better for you.
Yeah, it's definitely those big life moments that it's important to have someone in your corner to help you plan out how you're going to best navigate them. What are some other financial resources that the DCWP offers in addition to financial counseling?
Mhm. So, one other very key program that my office runs every year is the New York
Mhm.
City Free Tax Preparation Services. And again, we do that also in collaboration with groups who have been doing this work forever, right? But for
Mhm.
the last few years, the city has actually invested money and has provided funding for this network of providers, so that these services can be scaled up and we can have even more New Yorkers file the taxes for free every year. So depending on
Mhm.
your income, and sometimes like last year, I believe it was 64,000 income. So if you earn less than that, you can do your taxes for free. Again, these are trained tax preparers. Program is actually overseen by us and the IRS, right? This
Mhm.
is a legitimate program, right? Even though you don't pay anything, you can trust that the legitimate program by the government. We have now a driver resource center, which is a space
Mhm.
where drivers who are experiencing huge financial burdens, right? They
Mhm.
can get free counseling, financial counseling, but also legal services. We have also Empower NYC, which is a program where we worked with different groups to bring financial counseling for people with disabilities and their families, because
Mhm.
these individuals need even more specific counseling and guidance with respect to
Mhm.
certain benefits. You know, you want to make sure that they continue to build assets, but they don't lose their medical benefits, which can be really costly. And then we
Yeah.
also have a ready to rent collaboration with HPD. It is about financial counseling designed to help you as a potential tenant, right? Apply and
Mhm.
qualify for affordable housing. The Housing Preservation and Development Agency is reserving for people with limited income. It's still a process. You still need to be able to show all your documents. You need to have a credit score. And so our counselors work specifically on that to make sure you are
Mhm.
ready in order to qualify for those affordable apartments.
One thing that you're mentioning a lot of are that fraudulent activity or those scams that people can fall into. So, what are some signs of scam or fraud that community members should be aware of when looking for help with their finances?
Yes, we saw obviously during the
Mhm.
pandemic that price
Mhm.
gouging was a big problem, right? We received over
Mhm.
12,000 complaints of price gouging. So we did a lot of work making sure that we could address those complaints to bring the price gouging to a halt. But in addition to that, and every time that there is either a crisis or a new opportunity, you see people who take advantage of the moment, and it's often our communities who least can afford it who are affected
Mhm.
by those acts. You
Mhm.
see on the screen, there's some of the common scams. We used to hear about the IRS scams only during tax season, right? You would
Mhm.
get calls or emails but typically phone calls that it said it was the IRS calling you. The numbers always look
Mhm.
real. And you answer, they would try to extract from you your social security number, right?
Mhm.
And get this information from you. And now, because of the economic stimulus payments, and we've heard
Mhm.
that they're using that hook too. So you get a call saying,
Mhm.
oh, we know that you qualify for the stimulus payment. Let me help you with that. I need this information from you. We always tell people, do not respond to unsolicited calls or emails or texts unless
Mhm.
you call them first and you know to expect that phone call back. Do not respond to those, because if the
Mhm.
IRS needs to get in touch with you, believe me, they will get in touch with you, right? So
Yeah.
you can let the call go to the voicemail. Thing that we advise is like, go to the website, look at the IRS official website, find the number there, call that number, and then say, I want to know if you're trying to reach me, right? My name is such and
Mhm.
such. So then you go to the official source and then you find out what is happening. And so always do that, because we've seen it with banks, right? I get texts from Chase saying, there's a problem with your account, call us immediately. I don't have a Chase account, right? But that happens and you get like
Mhm.
nervous about it. What is happening,
Mhm.
right? We've seen it with during the pandemic. Sadly, we've seen it with people who were getting WhatsApp messages from the Department of Health saying, oh, we can give you a discount on your license if you apply now on WhatsApp. That is not how the Department of Health contacts people. So
Mhm.
again, sometimes if it sounds too good to be true, it's probably bad, right? And so you're going to call
Mhm.
us and you're going to say, is it true that I have to pay someone if I want to get unemployment insurance benefits? That is another thing, very, very important. Do not
Mhm.
ever pay someone to get a government benefit, right? So the unemployment insurance benefits, you shouldn't have to pay anyone to help you with that.
Mhm.
We have free legal services for people who need it. The student loan debt relief programs from the federal government, you shouldn't have to pay anyone to access that. It's very important that you understand that government benefits should not be sold. During this time also, you see a lot of generosity from people who wanted to others who had less. They wanted to give to nonprofit organizations who are doing the good work of helping those who are affected by the virus. But it's really important that you give to a charity that is a trusted charity, like someone that you like, that you know, not just someone who
Mhm.
emailed you randomly and you never heard of this organization and they're telling you a beautiful story, but you never heard of them. You can do your research. You can make sure that a legitimate organization, nonprofit, a charity under the law. If you go to the state attorney general's office, you can find out their status. So those
Mhm.
are the kinds of things that I would say we are seeing. And the one that obviously we should be very careful about, we were seeing some things about cures for COVID-19 or COVID-19 home tests. This is, I'm talking a few months ago when we knew for sure there were no cures, there were no home tests, right? And we were already
Mhm.
seeing those advertised. We always said, in this case, with respect to your health, it's not that you're just going to lose money, but you could
Mhm.
actually get hurt, right? You could actually die from taking an untested medical cure that has not been
Mhm.
approved by the federal government. So, just don't just trust what you're hearing around you. Go to the right sources, go to the CDC webpage, Department of Health, come talk to New York Immigration Coalition, just go to the people that you can trust
Mhm.
and get your information from them.
I want to echo that going to a trusted source is so important, especially during these times when a lot of different things are popping up because we think we're doing the right thing, but it's not always the right thing. So, if community members have more questions, where should they be going?
So call us at 311 if you just want to talk
Mhm.
to someone on the phone. The materials in different languages, again, different guides on how to protect yourself. You can also visit nyc.gov/DCWP alerts to stay up to date on the
Mhm.
latest agency resources. But feel free to call us if you see something, and we count on you all to let us know what you're seeing on the ground. We didn't know about price gouging until people called us and said, is this
Mhm.
right? Can they actually charge me 10 times as much for a bottle of Clorox? And that's when you start looking into it. But if you don't tell us, we won't know. We will
Mhm.
determine whether there's a violation of the law, or if it isn't already a violation of the law, whether there's anything else we can do, right? So
Mhm.
please do reach out with questions. That's what we're there for.
Mhm. Thank you, Commissioner. Now we'll be taking questions from the audience. Our first question is, how much money should I have in my emergency fund?
That is a really great question. Recommend that for people who have an employer, right, who work for a
Mhm.
company, let's say your salaried employee, is to have 3 months of emergency funding, 3 months that would cover all of your expenses, right? For people
Mhm.
who are freelancing or are independent contractors, the
Mhm.
recommended time is like 6 months of savings, because then you are more vulnerable to losing
Mhm.
a job without having the backup of unemployment insurance benefits. But I would also say that so many Americans, so many people living in this country don't have $400 in savings, right? Don't feel bad if you don't have that. That's some very, very high goal to work towards. But
Mhm.
obviously, anything you can put aside each month is great. And this is why if you talk to a financial counselor, they're going to tell you, okay, this should be your target goal for savings based on all of your expenses, all your debt. I know of this relief program you can apply for. You can reduce your student loan and payments by $300 a month. So just talk to someone, call 311, make an appointment.
Our follow-up question is, what should a financial plan include?
So typically, a financial plan is really a budget and an analysis of your debt, right? So your budget,
Mhm.
so what money comes in each month, and then what are your typical expenses, right? For housing, health insurance, transportation, right? All of that. And then what is your debt? Counselors will help you figure out the best strategy for tackling that debt. In some cases, they're going to call your creditors and they're going to try to get the debt down. They're also going to tell you, have very high interest in this credit card. Let's try to tackle that first, right? And then
Mhm.
the next. And so it really includes your assets. So assets is any savings you have and any income that you are getting or property
Mhm.
that you have, your expenses, right? How much money goes out each month, and
Mhm.
then what your debt is and how you're going to bring it down.
So how often should someone be updating their financial plan?
So we mentioned when is the right time to go visit a counselor.
Mhm.
I would say typically when there's a change in your household in terms of income. Let's say you
Mhm.
get a new job, maybe you get a better paid job, right? And you want to, it's not always like less money, sometimes it's a little more money. So the
Mhm.
counselor can tell you, oh, now that you have this much more room in your budget, then we can do this, right? Let's tackle this student loan debt first, right? So they can
Mhm.
guide you with that. If you have an addition to your family, you have a new child, right? Or you want to start saving for college for your kids, that's you should visit your financial counselor. But it's really good, even if nothing changes for a while, you should always be reviewing your credit report. Counselors can review it with you and say, like, look at this flag here. Like, we should address this issue. There's an open credit card you haven't used in 20 years. It's still there.
Mhm.
They can advise you whether it makes sense to close it or not. Anytime they want to save towards a goal, it's also important because they can help you with that and give you certain reminders, right? Nudges so
Mhm.
that you keep on track with your goals.
Yeah. So when would be the right age to start saving for retirement?
As soon as you start working, right? And start until very late. But I have a son who just got his first job, and I've already been getting him on saving for retirement. We have to start very early. The moment that you
Mhm.
start working, again, there are different steps, right? If you don't have an
Mhm.
emergency fund, it's hard
Mhm.
to be thinking about a retirement fund. So that's why seeing a counselor, they will walk you through the different steps. You manage your
Mhm.
debt, you begin saving, then you can start increasing your assets, and they can
Mhm.
best help you based on exactly what your family needs are.
And can a financial counselor help with investing as well?
So, financial counselors are not supposed to be giving you recommendations on stocks or things like that. They're supposed to be very
Mhm.
objective, very professional, and they
Mhm.
cannot be pushing for certain products, right? Because that is what
Mhm.
starts causing conflicts of interest. So, they
Mhm.
don't do that. They stay very much away from that. But if you say, I want to invest my money, and they can say to you, here's a list of options that you can check out that are reputable places that you
Mhm.
can go to. You can certainly identify for you for types of savings accounts that they don't charge you fees, right? Or the fee is very small. So they can give you those options. They're not going to tell you pick this or that. So they're really great coaches. They're going to help you. You'll make your decisions, but you'll feel empowered to make those decisions with their help.
Like those are all the questions we've gotten today, and that is all the time we have today. So thank you again, Commissioner Salas, and thank you everyone for tuning in. To stay involved with the New York Immigration Coalition and the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection, please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Thank you again, Commissioner, for joining us today. It's been incredible having you. Stay safe, take care, and enjoy your evening, everyone.
Thank you, Nora. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.